Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recording or transmission are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Roll call, John Erickson.
Louis Gonzos.
Ron Rusin.
Carolyn Maderas.
Also joining us are Sarah Page, Executive Director, Kenny Viola, Administrative Service Consultant, and Karen Martin, Project Manager. Ann Keene is not present tonight. First item, guys, is approval of the open session minutes from March 27th. Any comments on those? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve said minutes.
Second?
Second.
John Erickson, yes?
Louis Gonzos, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Carolyn Maderas, yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item is the warrant, which totals tonight $61,895.62. Any questions on any of those items? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve that warrant.
Motion to approve warrant of $61,895.62.
Second?
Second.
John Erickson, yes?
Louis Gonzos, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Carolyn Maderas, yes.
Thank you. Karen's going to give us an update on the docks.
It's a dock kind of city pier update. So we are in the process of opening for spring. The water meter was installed this week, and the irrigation, he started working on that. He's set it up, the water is flowing, the backflow was installed. He still needs to do some testing and repairs, and he's hoping to have that done within the next 2 weeks. And the landscaper, I met with him out on site, and he's gonna be probably planning to be out there kind of mid-May to do the mulching and to do a good cleanup, so it looks really good for our dock opening in June. For the ceremony and everything. I spoke to the harbor master finally yesterday, and he is going to be lowering the walkway next week and bringing his boat over and installing that sign that says reserved for harbor master. He's going to be working on putting some buoys out around the, that spit that comes off the north pier, that so just so people know that it's, a low, just to be cognizant of that, of the depth in that area. And then we're gonna work on, I'm on vacation next week, but when I get back, I'm gonna meet with him, and we're gonna work on finalizing the signage and everything for out there. So, and I also met with our lock company to look at the lock that's on that gate. There's a couple issues with the way it's installed, and we gotta replace the batteries. There's a battery pack that activates that lock. So we're replacing the batteries, and he's calling the company, and he's gonna talk to them about what we can do to tweak that lock and get it to operate as we want. And I'm gonna reach out to him tomorrow and see where we're at with that. We can't change that key cylinder to match the master key, so we're always gonna have to have a separate key for that lock. So that is what it is. So that is, hopefully will be resolved shortly. And the information kiosks, they're gonna start installation tomorrow. The small 3-footer that's up on the main pier part is gonna be installed tomorrow, and then the larger unit is going to be placed next week out by the dock gates there. And Youth Build's really excited about the project, and they seem to be pretty much on top of their game with everything. They got all the materials, so that should hopefully go smoothly. And then we have the grand opening is scheduled for June 1st. Invitations are in process. They're going to be mailed tomorrow and emailed tomorrow. So they're going out to all the dignitaries. The mayor's going to reach out by email to all the federal and local delegation. And
It's a Saturday, right, Karen?
What was that?
It's a Saturday,
That's a
right?
Saturday, yeah. And they've got the band's been picked, and so I think now we just have to rely on Mother Nature to cooperate. The rain date's June 8th, so we're going to keep our fingers crossed that we get it off on June 1st. And there'll be a press release going out next week from the mayor's office, and then there'll be social media postings and so forth also. So hopefully that's going to be a pretty well-attended event. We're hoping to get a good turnout for that.
Will be open before that? Or is
Yeah,
that
he's
after
going,
opening
yeah,
day?
so he'll open it next week. It'll be just a soft opening with the
Yeah, yeah.
gameplay. He'll move his boat over, and So we'll see,
Okay.
you know. They meant, like he said technically boating like most boaters start getting out on the water May 1st. He said, I have no idea, you know, if people will know about this, utilize it, who knows? He says, as the weather gets nicer and more boaters are on the water, he feels that that's when, you know, there'll be more of a demand, or people will start realizing it's there.
Is that part of the water taxi or no?
It is supposedly part of the water taxi. We're still waiting to get some details on how that's gonna work, when it's gonna start and all of that. So it's supposedly one of the stops, yes.
Okay, great.
Do we have signs on there? Signage?
Signage for the water taxi?
No,
or
for the pier like ours.
This says dawn to dusk on the sign that's on there right now.
So the locks at dusk, so if somebody's boat's there, they have to wait the next day to get it?
Well, yes.
There's no other way to get out, so.
Well, you can call the harbor master number's on there, and you
Yeah.
can call him and he can,
Unlock it.
he could unlock it, yes.
Okay.
Do you wanna, the AUL for the environmental closeout?
Yes, so the environmental closeout on City Pier, as part of the board package that went out to you guys, was the language for the final activity and use limitation. We had already approved the actual site layout of that AUL limit, so assuming that that gets approved tonight when we vote after this, we'll get that. Sarah has to certify the vote. Johnny needs to sign the form, and then I'll let Joe McLaughlin know tomorrow from Beta, and he will need to sign his part, and all those wet signatures will go to John Coughlin so that he can electronically file it. And then once that's electronically filed, it kicks into a process where Joe has 30 days to provide that recorded AUL to the local officials, and he has to publish a newspaper ad, and also provide a filing to Mass DEP with a check, which is part of the warrant tonight. And then once within 7 days after it's been published, and we've shown proof of published, then they can file the permanent solution. So if all kind of goes as planned, and assuming John can get this filed Friday or early next week, we should probably, the permanent solution should be able to be filed early June. And then that would close out, hopefully, the environmental at City Pier.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the AUL activity and use limitation as presented, and authorize the chair to sign the document.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
John Erickson, yes?
Louis Gonzalez, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes?
Joan Maderis, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sarah, you going to talk about the Northfield?
I will. So we're talking later on in the meeting about the RFP results, but what I want to talk about is the fact that Michael Labosier, our local forester who works for the city, connected us with the Audubon, the local Audubon Society, and they came out and met with us at Northfield Point because they are doing a Nature in the City program in the schools that's really active. And they are taking the kids out to the bioreserve, and the youth in the classes really would like to be doing projects on the river. And the Audubon Society has a lot of resources and a lot of interest in protecting the environment along the river. And because this is going to be really a naturalized environment, and it's also one of the only places you can really walk down and actually touch the water, which is interesting. They said that the youth have been really advocating for somewhere that they can actually, you know, get in touch with the river itself rather than being up on kind of a bank of the river. And so they came out and talked with us about the invasive species and strategies for holding back the shoreline that's been deteriorating, which is one of our projects in the whole engineering process. But they have a lot of interesting perspectives on the vegetation, and they've worked in a lot of similar areas around Boston that are kind of protected park-like areas. And so they're interested in having a relationship with us and being able to bring youth out there once it's redeveloped. And so I just wanted to let you know that. I'm hoping that whatever consultant we pick is, ready to kind of engage with them and get some input from them, because I think they're very knowledgeable about how to get rid of invasive species and then manage keeping them out, because that's going to be a key issue here. If we get rid of all the poison ivy and all the, weeds like, there are all kinds of vines and things that could easily come back if we don't figure out how to really manage keeping them out. So I just wanted to let you know about that.
So FYI, you can touch the water at the bottom of Kennedy Park.
You can walk down the boat ramp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can walk down the boat ramp.
And also at the bottom of Kennedy Park, there's also, you can get right to the shoreline now.
Behind the carousel.
No, Kennedy Park.
But the carousel, you go right down the floor.
Carousel, you really can't because it's all rip-rap, so
Oh, is that?
that's the same
I've
thing.
never found a good path down to the river from Kennedy Park. Is there a good one?
Yeah.
Okay,
You know where the overlook is?
yeah.
Yeah, you go through
You gotta
the,
go over the
go
bridge.
through the homeless encampment and I'll take you right down to the, no, that's where they are, staying right now.
Yeah.
Sarah, do you want to talk about Pleasant Street, Flint? Or-
So the draft urban renewal plan has been sent to the housing agency, HLC, Housing and Livable Communities. And the screening form for our environmental justice communities has been sent out by Ty and Bond, the consultant that's been working on that. So that's been sent out to lots of environmental advocacy groups and groups that are on NEPA's list that we're required to send it to. And it basically summarizes what our project is and tells them that they can provide input. So those were two real milestones in moving this project along. And now we're doing some focus on implementation. There are people who have either purchased, there's some people who've purchased some of the vacant buildings, and they always come to us and say, well, do you have grants? How are we going to fund this? And it's a little worrisome that they didn't figure out how they were going to fund it before they bought it. But they are excited about their new buildings and want help thinking about it. So I've been telling you for a while that I wanted to put an application in during this state one-stop process where you can apply to housing, to HLC, or you can apply to mass development, and you can start with a letter of interest basically that says, this is what we're thinking we would like to apply for. What do you think about this idea? What part of what agency would be interested in it? So I'm working with the city's grant writer to put in this simple, two-page form that says, we're interested in applying for funding for our implementation plan in the Flint, and what do you think? What amount of money could we ask for? And then we would apply in the beginning of June with an actual application. And that's what we went through last year when we got the funding for the master planning. So what I'm looking to ask for is funding under a program the state has called District Revitalization Redevelopment Technical Assistance. And you can apply to have a consultant work with you on district redevelopment strategies and corridor studies. And so while we have our urban renewal plan and our roadmap for neighborhood revitalization, it doesn't get really specific about what you might want to do on certain blocks and how to really create vibrancy along the Pleasant Street corridor. So what I'm hoping we can get some funding for are strategies for redevelopment of the vacant buildings, including funding strategies. And Ken had suggested that we really need to look at which buildings are on the National Register and if we need to get more of them on, because we're imagining people will need to use historic tax credits. So that would be one piece we would be looking at. And then just, what funding sources should these developers be looking at that they could get from the state, and what would that potentially look like for the commercial portion and the residential portion. And then we have our $1.6 million earmark that the city received or has been allocated from the federal government. And so this study might also look at some of the infrastructure that could really work with the buildings to make it a more vibrant corridor. So one opportunity might be to get a consultant to do some visuals about, on this block, you could redevelop this building, you could have a restaurant with some outdoor dining, and you could have some trees over here. And that wouldn't be, there still will be a need to have a real consultant hired to develop a plan for the infrastructure, the infrastructure development with the 1.6 million. But we've been talking with some of our folks involved in the urban renewal plan about how it would be helpful to have more specifics about how to revitalize Pleasant Street.
Was that 1.6 million streets and sidewalks, or is it more to that than just that?
Well, it's pretty much trees. I think some of it will get used for crosswalks, because
Okay.
a lot of feedback we've gotten is that it doesn't feel safe. There are intersections where people feel there's real difficult visual issues when you're turning onto Pleasant Street. So there would be a number of things that it could be used for that, but it's basically infrastructure, so has to fall in that category. And 1.6 million is a good commitment, but it's not going to go
Right.
too far on redoing Pleasant Street. So that's,
Is that it on Pleasant
Yep.
Street? Okay. You want to talk about the VMB, the map?
so I'm going to pass out the land disposition agreement for VMD has buildings that are designed basically as long rectangles, and what the VMD thinks they have someone interested in developing a building that really is square and would have all of the truck parking on the side. And so I sent that in the board package and then realized it would be helpful for you to see this original plan. So we're looking at the first building on Innovation Way is in Freetown, and the second one is lot number 2. That's the one that we're talking about here. And if you look at what's in the land disposition agreement, it's this long rectangle. And if you look at what we sent you in the board package, you've got a big square and a lot of truck parking. And so they want to know a couple of things. are we willing to accept this new configuration? And then we would down the road amend the land disposition agreement. And what they are showing on that plan is that they'll be carefully screening the truck parking, and the covenants for the park require that if they're going to put truck parking on the side, then they have to get approval by the redevelopment authority and specific approval for the screening. And so it's not, we're not showing you enough of a plan to really approve their project. And so the vote that we're asking you to take is that you're in agreement to this general reconfiguration, and then we'll actually take a vote to approve their plan once they send a plan to the city and to the redevelopment authority.
So this building is where? Is this one right here?
That was the one originally,
Okay.
and then the square one is what would go there instead.
Do you know what that is?
I think it's the door. Don't we think that on this
What?
side?
Oh, maybe it's like a generator or something.
It may be. We're not really sure, and I know it's really difficult to ask you, we're not asking you to approve this plan. We're just asking you to approve the square versus rectangle.
Well, the reorientation of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reorientation of the layout.
Just kind of spun around.
Yeah,
Right.
it just kind of spun around, and the
Right.
parking's now on the side of the building instead of behind it.
Okay.
It goes right up to Innovation Way pretty much, but they can put some shrubs in front of it.
Yep.
Is that against our bylaws? The
No.
parking that close to Innovation
As
Way?
long as you screen it.
It's
No.
gotta go through, all it's gotta go through
Through-
site plan review,
Yeah.
you know, and it's also gotta be an amendment to the LDA, and there's probably other covenant release that they're looking for. So, that's all I'll say.
Well, what we say, site plan review is gonna have the say in it.
Yeah, to
The
this
final
whole
say.
thing
They have the
could-
governing
this could-
say, yeah.
Yeah, this,
Yeah.
what?
It could change,
It could
for
change, so
sure.
that's why I'm not sure why
Yeah.
we're, you know.
Why they're
I think
asking?
you're having a general agreement on this without a
Right.
vote would be okay as well, as opposed to a formalized vote.
Yep.
Mhm. That's fine. They just don't want to go through the whole design process and find out that this reconfiguration is not acceptable. And, you know, Ken and I both
not really
agree,
up to us at this
it would be
point.
surprising that you would really not approve a reconfiguration plan, but they want to make sure that there's general agreement about it.
So we agreeing on it?
So,
I think you can agree.
Right.
Agree pending site plan
I think
review.
the minutes
Right.
Yeah.
the minutes can reflect that you are in agreement, general agreement with
Without
the
voting.
reorientation, subject to further plan review and site plan review by the city.
Yeah.
So what we were asking was that you agree to a change to the building and parking layout of VMD property Lot 2 at Innovation Way as shown in the site layout presented tonight, recognizing that a future amendment to the LDA will be required once the full set of plans for Lot 2 are submitted to the city and the Redevelopment Authority and approved by the Redevelopment Authority at a future meeting.
And site plan review.
Well, that's
yeah,
a city.
that
Submitted to
they're
the city.
Submitted to the city for their full review and
approval.
approval.
Yeah, it doesn't say, you didn't say approval by the city.
So, I mean, at this
It
point,
basically sounds like they want us to.
we don't have
agree,
any
like,
serious
say
objections
yes.
to it, and we can't really
Right.
do anything at this point, right?
Yeah.
So I think we agree to pass the buck to
Let them
site plan.
continue planning.
Yeah. I don't think there's a vote necessary.
Right.
But
Okay.
I think we're okay with it, but you still need the future planning, we gotta see
Yeah.
what's gonna go there, and also site plan review has to go through it before we can say
Sure.
yes or no.
Okay. Excuse me. Chair makes a finding that an open session would have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. Purpose of the executive session is to approve the executive session minutes from March 27th, 2024, discuss strategy with respect to potential real estate transaction for property located at Assessor Map 22, Lot 9 on Duval Street at the corner of Turner Street, and report on proposals and vendor selection in response to RFP number 24-07, improvements to Northfield Point and mooring fields, excuse me. I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session, and we will return to open session for that vote.
Ron,
Turn open
motion.
Second.
Did you, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay. John Erickson, yes?
Louis Gonzalez, yes.
Ron Rushin, yes.
Joan Maderos, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, after further
Oh, we're
review.
supposed to make a motion to go back to open session.
Yeah, we did.
You
Yeah.
did make the motion?
No, I
Okay.
did, yeah. After review and executive session, we decided to table the vote we were going to do at this point, and further review some information and hopefully accomplish that vote on our next meeting. If everybody's in agreement, I just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
John Erickson, yes?
Louis Gonzalez, yes.
Ron Rushin, yes.
Joan Maderos, yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.